Uh, I don't think any skill or experience ever is a waste. I think the kind of possibly the rigorous studies or the rigorous, very technical work that I did in engineering has enabled me to be very, very technical in terms of my day-to-day tasks also now in HR. So overall, I like that, and that's one of the things that I would possibly even tell young women who are joining the workforce recently, is that I think don't limit yourself to your field. If you enjoy it, if you love it, that's great. But if there is a chance that you feel something else may work out better for you, explore that opportunity. It worked well for me, touch wood, so far. So I don't think, like, to answer in one line, I don't think experience is ever is a waste, or studies or a certain subject is ever a waste. It always helps.
That's very true. I completely agree with you. Um, when we're talking about women joining the workforce, or women who are in the workforce but are working towards leadership, um, what advice would you give, apart from not being focused on just their experience in their field, um,
Right.
from your
I,
experience as someone who's been in the industry, in different industries for so long, and also from someone who's now in a leadership position? Um, what do you think women should do?
to answer that question, India, more than advice, I'd just maybe say a couple of things. So, firstly, I think my first rather giveaway would be for young women who are just joining, or women who are looking to climb the corporate ladder, is number one, prove that you can get the job done. So qualities like efficiency, follow throughs, closing the loop, communication, effective communication, and timely communication. These are all highly underrated, but these are all also very, very valued. So when someone, people can notice these qualities and values, and instantly, you can get recognized for your efficiency. So efficiency, I would say, is very, very important. And this is irrespective of where you are at. If you prove that you can get the job done, I think that's step number one. Cross, people will recognize you automatically, and that's a great way to start growing in the corporate ladder. That was one. The second one I would say is, do not limit yourself to your job description. A lot of us, we get caught up in the mundane routine of our what's expected of us, and our day-to-day tasks. It goes on for weeks, months. Sometimes people stay in the same role for years. So possibly step back, hold, pause, evaluate what is it that's holding you back from your current uh, title to move on to the next one. And if it's a lack of skills, if it's a lack of maybe certain training courses, maybe it's cross exposure, cross training, whatever it is, make a plan, jot it down, and then start working on that. Do not limit yourself to what is just expected of you. um, Actively take part in your own growth, rather than waiting for an appraisal to happen. So basically, make sure to list, plan, and take out time to train for the skill gap. That's the second one. And third, of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's okay to switch and explore fields. I think it's slightly unfair, or for an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old to know precisely what you want to do for the next 40 years of your life.
Yes.
We learn a lot about ourselves as we grow, only as we go on in years. We learn a lot about our likes, dislikes, our passion, our interests, as we grow. Very few people, I would say maybe 10% are very clear what they want to do in their life, and that's great for them. But for the rest of us who fall in the other category, it's important to give yourself the leeway to explore other options. Who knows, you may like something else better. You may be better at something else. You may excel and, eventually make that your career path. I think when you explore, it brings you closer to what you really like and want to do in life. So don't be afraid to explore.
That's great. Um, I have one follow-up question on this. Uh, One thing that I've heard in my conversations with other women leaders, and even male leaders for that matter, is that women tend to be, um, even if they are efficient and effective, not vocal enough about their um, abilities. In fact, there was a recent article I read about how hard work doesn't um, matter as much as loud work does.
Smart work and loud work, correct.
Yeah. So, with regards to this, when it comes to advocating about yourself, and I wouldn't say loud work especially, but you know, being more visible, because that is also a factor of remote or hybrid work. There is a lack of visibility because you're not physically present in the office much, uh,
Correct.
and communicating your achievements or performance and all of that may be difficult in a team setting if there is remote or hybrid work. In that context, what would you uh, what was worked for you, and what would you tell women to do to be more visible or to be better at advocating for themselves in the workplace?
Right. Um, it's a very interesting question here, and a lot of relevance, as you say. So let's understand one thing. This is an interesting point. Let's understand one thing here. Is that so? Have you read this book by any chance? Equal yet different.
No, I have not. I've heard of it, but
It's a mandatory must read for all women and even men, I would say. Because the
okay.
men are equally responsible for women to
That is
grow in
true.
leadership.
Yes, yes,
And
absolutely.
right. So this book talks about an interesting point, India. It says that, I'm remember, I'm forgetting the statistics, but basically a group of women who've had experience in a certain skill set were put in one room, and a group of men who didn't have experience in that particular skill set were put in another room. And they were asked, and this problem was posed to both rooms, women and men, saying, how well do you think you can solve this challenge? Okay. So the women, to remember, have got that experience, the men don't. 90% of the men said they can do it, whereas very few women turned up. I'm forgetting the statistics here, but very few women turned out and said, I can do it too, or we can solve this. So the interesting thing here is to understand that, genetically speaking, women are underconfident, or rather do not know how to appreciate their skill set, their qualities, their experience. We would rather downplay than exaggerate. So that's the difference between men and women. Now, having known this fact, this was sort of an eye opener. It's genetic, it's not something that you're making up. But having known this fact, or rather understanding this fact, I would say I think women need to be a lot more also, have faith in your abilities, have a lot more confidence in their experience and skills. And I don't think, as you said, this aligns with the smart work, loud work. You call it whatever you want, but even even a rickshaw wala does hard work, probably more than me or more than us. So it's not about the hard work. It's also about visibility, as you rightly said. It's also about making sure that the work that you're doing is being recognized. And whose job is it to make sure that that's out there? It's our job. It's my job. If I'm doing a task, or if I'm responsible for a certain process, I have to be vocal enough to say that, okay, this was the timeline, I've finished this, and this is the deadlines, and we've achieved this, we've not achieved this. So it's our responsibility equally. So we definitely need to be, women for sure need to be more out there, and I'm not saying exaggerate, but uh, possibly be more vocal, for sure. Right.
That was the last question I have for you guys. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
That's it. I think, India. I think it's great that you guys are doing this campaign.